I really will. I'll try to tell you too long. Lord, be my helper. Luke 17, first 5 verses. Then said he unto his disciples, It is impossible, but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones. Take heed to yourselves. Thy brother trespass against thee, rebuke him, and if he repent, forgive him. And if he trespass against thee 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day turn again to thee, saying, I repent, thou shalt forgive him. And the apostles said unto the Lord, Increase our faith. Verse 5 is very striking, and as we read through those verses, it almost seems like it's out of place. The preceding verses, of course, Jesus had spoke to forgiveness and the according behavior. And when he was done, the disciples said, Lord, help us. Increase our faith. As Jesus was speaking these words, brethren, I say that even now, that some of us would probably need our own faith increased if we're going to do what all Jesus has said. We sometimes speak on this subject. Periodically, we find ourselves discussing it. Because in the world in which we live in, I'm telling you, we're going to be faced with this from time to time. Jesus dealt with the issue. He broke it down to day after day, or day by day here. In verse 4, the scripture says, And if he trespass against thee 7 times in a day. And that's quite a bit when you think about it. For somebody to cross you or offend you or do something to you that in fact merits forgiveness in one day's time. After about the 3rd or 4th time, most folks are pretty weary. 5th or 6th time, we're right on edge. Number 7, man, what is wrong with you? But Jesus here was trying to illustrate to the disciples the boundlessness of forgiveness that we as Christians are to express, to manifest in our daily activities. 7 times in a day your boss cross you. 7 times in a day your wife cross you. 7 times in a day your husband cross you. 7 times in a day your neighbor cross you. And yet come back and say, I'm sorry. And you say, all right. And you come back again. And you say, I'm sorry. All right. 3 o'clock, I'm sorry. Okay. 5 o'clock, I'm sorry. Yeah. 7 o'clock, oh, I'm so sorry. I heard you. 9 o'clock, I'm sorry. You know, I've been thinking about this all day long, and if you were really sorry, but that's not what Jesus said, is it? Very much on the contrary. The disciples, after hearing these words, said, Lord, increase our faith. There must have been something in what Jesus said that somehow fully dawned on them. They got the impact, the import of what he was saying, to the point they said, Lord, what you're talking about here, we're not too sure whether we have what it's going to take to do this. That's the first step in anybody getting help. You know that? We cannot receive help until we realize we need it. They say that one of the first things that an alcoholic needs to recognize, of course, is that he's got a problem. Without that recognition, he goes on. You talk to him and say, man, you got a drinking problem. I don't have a problem. I control this. I don't have to drink every day. I just drink because I want to. But I don't drink because I have to. I can stop anytime I get ready. But you find them in the bottle. You find them in the morning, afternoon, at night in the bottle. You know they have a problem, but they don't know they have a problem. And until somehow they come to the place where they realize they have a problem, they'll always have it. Well, so it is with what we're talking about tonight. You can't do yourself any good holding folks and holding grudges and attitudes and feelings for years and years and years. It does more to destroy your well-being and your self-worth than it does the person you're holding. Believe me. Because they may forget all about what you're mad and upset over. Go their merry way rejoicing, and here you are fuming and steaming and boiling and undergoing all kind of changes physically. And for what purpose? So the apostle said unto the Lord, increase our faith. What would cause them to say that? There must have been something about their environment, about their previous experiences and what Jesus said and where they had been that have caused them to make this comment. I mean, they just said off the cuff. They were a little concerned because Jesus said, if a man come to you 7 times and ask forgiveness, just forgive him. Now, most of us would say if somebody came to us 7 times, we'd do it, wouldn't we? I mean, most of us want to feel that way anyway. We want to feel like we would. I mean, when we read this, we certainly don't want to say, well, I know I can't do that, unless you really and truly know you can't. But most people will say, well, I can probably do that. Glibly. But the disciples, when they were listening to Jesus speak, I'm sure they had seen enough and been around enough to know that, I mean, he didn't mince words and just didn't speak for no reason. And he was coming to them with this point so that they could realize that survival is dependent upon this. That if somebody does come to you 7 times in a day and ask forgiveness, that you need to have enough down inside to do so. Not threaten, not take him by the throat, as the one man did, you know. Not grab him by the collar, not tell him that you're full of foolishness and get out of my sight, not cast him off, not treat him any differently from that point on. But he said, forgive him. You know what that means, don't you? I mean, that come to the place where as far as your relationship with them is concerned, it's like it never happened. Oh, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I say you'll treat them as if it didn't. And your attitude toward them will be as if it didn't. In terms of your holding them and animosity and such. Can we say tonight, and Lord, increase my faith? I think most people would answer, even though they read these scriptures, they say, Lord, I don't know, I haven't had anybody ask me 7 times yet. And I'm not too sure about the 5th time. I might start wavering a little bit and be ready to find some other place and some other relationship, some other dwelling, some way to get away from this person, because really they're hurting me. And they keep doing it. And then they come back and say, I'm sorry. How can they really be sorry when they keep doing it? How can they really be sorry? And how can I forgive them if they're not sorry? The Bible didn't say go through all those gyrations and getting all that, did it? It said what your responsibility is to let it go. Here? Let me tell you something. If we held everything that people did to us, we're going to be some miserable souls. You hear me? Your life will not be happy if you sit around and let that stuff mount up on you. You'll soon find yourself becoming cynical. You'll be negative. You'll turn out to be harsh and distrustful. All these things because you're tired of getting hurt and you're putting up barriers and facades. Tired of being used. Tired of being taken advantage of. Tired of being overrun. Tired of being made the doormat. Somebody else will be the doormat now. I'm tired of that. I'm too old for that. Hold up. Jesus said, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. I'm sure when the disciples were listening, they heard that word, impossible. So whatever follows after what he said, they know for sure that it's coming their way. It is impossible. You know what that's saying, church? There is no way that you and I can avoid it. We can't get around it. We can't circumvent it. We can't find a way out of it. It's coming. He said it is impossible, but that offenses will come. In other words, just as sure as you're born, they're coming your way. It's impossible for you to get around this. And since it's impossible for you to get around it, this may well occur that somebody somewhere along the line gets involved in offending you. You. Now, depends on how important you think you are and how demeaning or hurtful you think whatever it was that came against you, just how you react when you go through. And if you think you're too important, or if you think that was too much, then you might react in a way that you will be ashamed of later. So forewarned is what? Forearmed. And Jesus said it's impossible for you to avoid this. Here, the Messiah said there is no way to get around this. There is no way of escape. It's coming your way for you and you and you and you. Somebody is going to cross you. Somebody is going to get on your nerves. Somebody is going to step on your toes. Somebody's going to kick sand in your face. Somebody's going to talk about you and say something that was unkind. Somebody's going to say something that was not only unkind, but untrue. Somebody's going to accuse you. Somebody's going to set you aside. Somebody is going to misuse you. Somebody's going to try to lead you astray. Somebody's going to try to flatter you. And when that doesn't work, they're going to go to the guilt trip. All of these things are coming, church. And if you're not prepared, then it's going to get you. You know, there's a lot of people that just can't get saved because they can't forgive. Did you know that? There was a woman that came down to the altar one time, and she was all prepared. In fact, there might have been a man in the same condition. There have been several probably. But suffice it to say that they were all ready to get saved until we asked them certain questions and came up that they were holding an attitude about something against someone else. We say, well, daughter, you need to, let that go and forgive them. And, oh no! Can't do that. But don't you understand that if you don't let this go that you can't be saved? Well, I guess won't be saved then. I can't forgive what she did to me. I can't let that go. It went too deep. It's made a permanent stain. It's indelibly marked. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Let's never let anything go so deep that it can't be taken care of. I'm not suggesting to you at all that there are things that as a Christian you cannot be hurt. That's folly. That's foolishness. We don't teach any such thing. But what we do say is that no matter how deep the hurt, God has a balm. And we do say that that balm can be so successful in the healing process that you can forgive and not hold it. Now, if we can't do this, saints of God, then we're no different than the church world in general. Anybody can do well when everybody's treating them nice. Huh? I mean, if everybody's on my side and everybody's doing me favors, I'm going to be a jolly good fellow like everybody else. I'm going to go along. Everybody's speaking well of me. Nobody's coming against me. Nobody's crossing me. But brother, what's important is when somebody does do that, that you know that it's not the end of the world and you can let it go. You know, in our jobs, some of us have responsibility for others. In other words, you're the boss. That's what I'm trying to say. every once in a while, folks are going to do things that you don't want them to do. And they may say things about you that you know aren't necessarily true, or they misconstrued it in its entirety. They took it out of context. They got mad. They got with somebody that's disgruntled in the office. They got to talking, and the next thing you know, the picture looked different in their minds. They got all twisted. They got on the rumor mill or the grapevine. Next thing you know, it starts getting back to you, and you don't know how it got all blown out of proportion or why it's like that. But the ones that mean something, just to forgive. Because especially when you're in a position of authority, it's easy to retaliate. You have the power to do it. You can quickly, with a stroke of a pen, take care of a few things. And we're done with it. But it means something to have enough grace in your soul to realize we're dealing with more than just a human being. We're also dealing with the devil. And what he's trying to do is plant a seed in you that will grow into bitterness and spring up and defile some others. So it's important, brothers and sisters, as we read what Jesus said, to understand that, first of all, it's impossible for us to avoid, and secondly, he expects us, when we do come into this situation, to go through it with victory. If you put those two things together, then perhaps some of us need to increase our faith. What was exactly the picture of mankind during the days of Jesus here on earth? What did things look like? Why were the disciples so concerned? Well, as you probably know, but let me rehearse it, things were bad. The Jews in particular were a conquered people. They were living in a strange land or under a strange government. They had been conquered by the Romans, and for many years had been conquered by one nation after another. They were scattered abroad. There was a real mess going on amongst the people themselves because some were contesting the very notion that Jesus was the deliverer. There were some that did not agree with that at all. There were many that were fighting against this idea. There were many that were contesting this belief. There were folks out there that were jockeying and maneuvering for position among the people. There were some that rose up and said, I'm Messiah. There were some that said they were this, they were that. There were some that had just sold out and said, well, we're going to join in with the Romans, and we'll just be tax collectors and publicans, the publicans being the tax collectors, or we'll be this or we'll be that. And so the times were very bad. And I would venture to say that there were many that were with Christ for a time, and they went back. There were several instances where he had great numbers that were following after him. He made a few comments to them, and they found him somewhere to get off the train, get off the boat, and go on back to their earthly pursuits and forsake the high standard of Christianity. The disciples were well aware of the fact that there were people out there that were out for nothing more than personal gain and position. And in fact, there were some people that had sought to inflict injury, and were seeking to inflict injury on Jesus and perhaps on the disciples. There were some that tried to influence them and others to do things that were wrong and mischievous. And knowing all this and understanding all this, well and fine, but when these people were to come back and say, I'm sorry, it meant something to say, okay, I forgive you. And if these type of people would do that 7 times in a day, it'd be something to say, all right, I forgive you. And the disciples well knew that, and they expected that, and the world in general is like that. But what Jesus said was not the world, but he said, take heed to yourself, if thy brother. He said, we expect all this from sinners in the world. We expect those that backslide and sometimes that don't do right. We expect all. But he said, if your brother, Peter, if James does this to you, or Andrew, or Philip or Bartholomew cross you 7 times, you have to forgive him. He said, man, wait a minute. Why would this disturb the disciples? Well, probably because, as you and I would ask the question, don't we have a right to expect perfect behavior out of the saints? I think everybody everybody in this profession to be saved nearly. I mean, don't we all have a right to expect that if you call yourself a saint, that you shouldn't be running around offending people? I mean, yeah, we expect the Romans to offend us. We expect those that's trying to get position, and Caiaphas and all them guys. Yeah, we expect that. But, my brother, wait, hold up. We're getting a little close here, and after all, I expect, and I'm sure that's what they would think, we expect sister this one, brother this one, to have perfect behavior. I don't expect you to be offending me. I don't expect you to be doing anything to cause me, if you're supposed to be my brother, you should not be offending me. You shouldn't be doing anything to offend me. Now, the moment you start offending me, I don't expect that from you, so I'm automatically thinking this guy may not even be saved. I'm offended. And he come back and say, I'm sorry. So, all right, go ahead on home then. And a little hour later, say, I did this to you again. I'm sorry. And 7 times in a day, Gabriel, that'd be a pretty long time. So I think what the disciples saw in what Jesus was saying is that he said it's impossible, it's coming. He said this is what you got to do when it happens, and this is where it's coming from. And when they put all that together, they said, Lord, you're going to have to help me for sure. You got to help us? I know we expect perfect behavior from the saints, but let me tell you something. The saints are people. And as people, we are bound to make mistakes. We're liable to say something or do something that we shouldn't have. It'll be a mistake. We ask forgiveness. We expect to be forgiven, don't we? Have you ever made a mistake? Well, then when you ask forgiveness, didn't you expect the person that you were begging pardon to extend enough courtesy or enough generosity or enough magnanimity or whatever the word you like to use? Do you want them to be nice enough to you to say, okay? So how is it then that you expect, or I expect, people to be perfect, and yet we allow ourselves to be a little less than that? This is what Jesus is saying. He's saying, you expect forgiveness? Well, then be willing to do the same. Right? As simple as that. And you don't want people to say, you're not saved, do you? You can't be saved. Why? You said such and such about me. Now, I'm not talking about going out and blatantly, openly rebelling and sinning and that type of thing. I'm saying you may say something that's not as courteous or charitable as it should be. You may have thought you were right and you were wrong. You may have been influenced by somebody or by some spirit. But the key is to get it fixed. And when you go to get it fixed, you certainly don't want the person to say, get down on your knees. Beg pardon 7 times. No. There weren't enough tears in that one. I want you to say, Ronnie, please forgive me. I was wrong. I am no good. I am lower than the earthworm. All right. At the 7th time, I will know then that you are truly humble, and this will never happen again. Because if it does, don't come talking to me. I got the 7 times out of the way now. Oh, Lord. But you know, some people don't say it like that, but they have an attitude like that. And when you go to apologize to them, you just feel like, oh, Lord, here we go again. Because there are actually people that carry themselves in a way that almost causes you, the confrontational behavior they have, the way they do, they provoke you to do that which you shouldn't, and then they have the way of putting all the blame on you. You know what I'm saying? There are people like that. And when you get done, you feel so tired of going to this person and saying, I'm sorry. But you got to do it to stay right. What you need to do is learn quickly not to get in the situation they're trying to put you in. But until you learn that, and I hope you learn quicker, sooner than later. But until you learn that, you find yourself going to them. And it's tough. It's tough. So here I go again. Oh, Lord. You might get lectured. You might get rebuked and scorned. A whole bunch of other things when you get done. But at least you get it off of you. But you want the person to be charitable on the other end. And that's why it's important, saints, that since you see that there are people like that out there, you not fall, or I not fall, in the trap and the behavioral pattern that they manifest. I don't ever want to be or behave myself in such a way where it looks like I'm demanding you to apologize to me. If you want to, fine. If you don't, it's your business. I'll leave that with you and the Lord. But I'm not going to let my spirit get wrapped up. I'm not going to let my attitude and my feelings get all tangled up in this mess. I'm going to stay above it by the grace of God. I'm going to stay above it. I'm going to stay above this. It may take some hard prayer, but I'm going to stay above it. Amen. Somehow. No wonder the disciples said, Lord, increase our faith. I'm sure when Jesus brought it out to them, though we see these words here written, I'm sure when he brought it out to it, the Holy Spirit was witnessing to their soul and getting across to them, children, he says, your brother. And you look around and see your brothers and sisters, you don't expect that to come from them, but he say it might. And if it does, be willing to forgive. Huh? Amen. Perhaps we can excuse the world, and so easy. He's not saved. I can excuse it. She don't have no Holy Ghost. She's the sinner. But when it happens from your brother, we're quick to hold that trigger. Say, hold up. You shouldn't be doing it. Well, Jesus didn't say you couldn't admonish them. He said you tell them. Yeah, honey, you shouldn't have done that. But he said also forgive them. They should know when you get done that your attitude is it's a done deal. It's closed. It's signed. Right? It's as far as I'm concerned, I'm not bringing it up. It's over with. Okay? Can you forgive your brothers? Can you forgive your sisters if they do you wrong? Because, it's the people that's closest to us sometimes that can hurt us the worst. Believe me. Because they know exactly what button to push. See what I'm saying? They've been around you long enough, and they know right where your buttons are. They know your buttons. You wish they didn't, but they know it. They know just what to say, just how to look, just where to go, just what to do to flip your bick. And before you know it, there you are. And then they come back and say, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. And then pretty soon, when you get on there, encroach on their territory, they get that button out. They know exactly where that button is and push your button. And your button, red light started flashing, fireworks go off. There you are again. You know what? Out there in the industrial world, if there's a button they don't want people to push, sometimes they put a little cage around it. They build a little cage and lock it up. And nobody can push this button, but the one got the key. So if they find your button, church, why don't you get some grace and build a cage around it? When they go to push the button, I used to be able to say that to her, and she would go off the deep end. This is no fun. Where's the button? Locked up. And now we have disconnected the button. We have cut the wires. It's an open circuit now. You can push all day long. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I'm that way. I'll talk to you later. I'm trying to do better. Bye-bye. This is such a wonderful grace to have, to be able to forgive people. Really it is. Really it is. Really it is. I've watched people be eaten up by holding stuff. And I tell you, it's an awful thing to see. It really is. It's so destructive and ruinous to see people just so consumed by that. I trust that I never fall in that trap, and neither do you. Don't be consumed by that stuff. Let it go. Forget it. Turn it loose. Relinquish it. Here? The longer you hold on to it, the harder it will be. But he did me so wrong. She did me so wrong. That may be. But she led me down the path. That may be. He influenced me. Yeah, that may be. But forget it here. They asked forgiveness. They were sincere. And even if they weren't, You don't want to mess with it. Let it go here. Then said he unto his disciples, it is impossible that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. We must remember that the people that are executing and involving themselves in this manner are over on dangerous territory. We want to help them get back. We want to rein them in. So that's why Jesus said, you go ahead and you reprove them, you rebuke them, but in the spirit of kindness, don't do that. Not because it's me. Keep it impersonal. Not because you did that to me, but because when you do these kinds of things, it belies an attitude that you don't want to be in you. When you act like that, one of these days you're going to do it to someone and they're going to, this or that could result. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about. You offended me. Who are you anyway? Are you really that important? Does it really matter that you were offended? Is it so important? And the great you? Is that what it is? You offended the great me, king or queen so-and-so. No. The point is that when people do these things, it's the behavior we want to attack, not the person. Right? We want to get on the behavior, and we want to keep it impersonal. It's not so much you did it to me, although you did, but that's not the point. The point is, when you do this, this is what results. When you do that, that's what results. That's how you help folks. And I say, if you do that to me one more, see, if you do it to me, you don't know what I'm going to do. So don't push me. Don't push me. Don't push me in the corner, because I could come out fighting. Remember Brother Murray telling the story about the man on his job that was provoking him? Remember that story? And I guess the man kept provoking him, and one day he got him out in the middle of his shop. And he challenged Brother Murray to a fight. Brother Murray was looking at the man, he's trying to think of something. He said, well, you know one thing. The man said, if I slap you on the right cheek, will you turn the other one? And a whole bunch of people gathered around on the shop floor. He said, I'm going to smack you and see if you'll turn the other cheek. I'm going to smack you here. So the man didn't like him. He looked at the man, he said, all the people standing around, and he felt like he was going to do it. He said, well, you go ahead and do it. But he said, but I could be a hypocrite. So the man looked at him and started smiling and walked away. But if he had a hearing, he had to have enough grace to say, all right, here. I don't know if I just say, well, smack this one too now. Smack me again. I don't think we want to do that. I think the point here is no retaliation here. But it's impossible that offenses will come. But there's folks out there that will do that. But when it comes from within, it hurts. But church, remember, the congregation is made of people. And periodically, people aren't what they ought to be. And so be charitable enough to realize that there is no place on earth where the people are perfect. And when I say perfect, I mean not perfect in their spiritual condition. But I'm talking about perfect as far as making mistakes and not offending. It could happen, right? If you think that it can happen, you're in for a big letdown. Why would Jesus even say this if it couldn't, right? He said, if your brother offends you, if this couldn't happen, he wouldn't even bring it up. But he knows that it can. In fact, it has. Most of us already have experienced that somewhere along the line. So he knows it can, and not only that, but he said to us, it will. He said it's impossible, it's coming. He said, where it's coming from? He said, this is how you should react. And the disciples said, Lord, increase our faith. Because, I get to thinking about forgiving somebody 7 times in a day. That's a lot. It really is. Most of us come across things in this once or twice a day, when it's a bad day. Usually it's not even that much. But he's saying have enough charity and enough charitableness and be able to extend yourself to the point where if they do it 7 times in one day, that you're able. And at one place he said, well, over the course of the thing, it'd be 70 times 7. That's not 490 times. I don't think you can count up that many times. I think you lose track if you was trying to keep track. If you were really forgiving, you wouldn't be trying to, well, let's see, I forgive you, but that's time number 19. I forgive you, but you know that's 34 now. I forgive you, but you had 376. No. But Jesus is trying to illustrate to us that willingness to just let it go far exceeds anything that we'll probably ever face. But he said if it does happen, you've got to be prepared to do it. And there may be somebody out there on your job, in your house, at the grocery store, at the parking lot, the parking garage, at the filling station, somebody somewhere, somebody you used to be close to, somebody who you like to be close to, somebody somewhere may know just how to hurt you, and they may be trying to do it. And you must know how to overcome that when it comes. Then said he unto his disciples, it is impossible, but offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. For it better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he cast into the sea, than he should offend one of these little ones. Take heed to yourselves. If thy brother, he said, wait a minute. If it's a brother who's going to do it, if there's a brother that's going to do it, and if the brother, or if it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, if he did do it, and if I'm a brother, then what does that say? That maybe I could be one that does? Huh? You get the point? Did you follow me? If Jesus here said, offenses will come, it's impossible to avoid them, right? And he's saying, if it does, when it does come, it's better that the one that it comes from have a millstone about his neck. Then he goes on to say, if your brother does it, if I'm a brother, then that means I have the ability, there's a probability that I could do it. There's a possibility, let's put it that way. There's a possibility that I could be the one that does it. I could. That's what he's saying here. If I could do it, Lord, help me so that I don't do it. Help me not to be the one causing offenses. Help me not to be the one that gets on the saints' nerves. Help me not to be the one trying to make things miserable for somebody. Well, since the so-and-so gets up to testify, I just look up at the ceiling. Or, when you hear preaching, you make clever and very pointed and strategically placed comments to throw off on somebody. We need to forgive, say, amen! Did you hear that? Ha ha! In other words, trying to make a point. Trying to make a point. The ones, there's so many things the devil got folks doing. And they're just doing it blindly and falling in traps. But in spite of all of that, we need to have a heart to forgive. And since we know what it means to be offended, then may God help us not to be the offense. If someone can be used, then that someone can be us. If anybody can be used, then certainly I can be. That's what it's saying. Let's just be honest about that. If anybody can be used, then I certainly can be. And if I can be, then I need to pray that the Lord help me so that I won't be. I didn't say you had to be, but I said you can be. Peter was a mighty man of the gospel. Agreed? Peter loved Jesus. Agreed? Peter followed Jesus. Agreed? But one day, Jesus rebuked Jesus and told him, he said, Lord, Peter, what did I say? Yeah, Jesus rebuked Peter, yeah. But one day, yeah, he did. But one day Peter rebuked Jesus. Thank you. And he said, Lord, none of these things are going to happen. What did Jesus tell him? He said, thou art what? An offense to me. Peter, you don't know what you're talking about. Hush! You have been used, you have been influenced here to say something, your emotions or whatever running rampant, and your mind is gone off and you're showing yourself to be too impetuous. Hush! Shh. I'm telling you, and you're going to contradict me. I am God, and you're telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's what you're telling me. You're telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. You're telling me that I'm mistaken. You're telling me more or less that I'm not telling the truth. Will you hush? And that's a hard thing to take, too. You hear me? When somebody just come out and tell you, well, I just don't believe you. Well, what are you saying to me when you say that? What are you saying to me when I tell you something and you say, well, I don't believe that? What's that mean? That's what Peter said. He said, I don't believe you. Lord, you don't know what you're talking about. And Jesus rebuked him. He said, look, I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And pretty soon, you're going to be in an altar somewhere weeping because what I'm telling you about, you're not ready to receive. So now hush. But we don't find any place where Jesus ever mistreated Peter. Although Peter eventually backslid and did some things he had no business. But Jesus still forgave him. He rebuked him just like he said. He said, lovest thou me more than these? And he asked him, didn't he? You love me more than these? Yes, Lord. Do you really love me more than these? Yes. Peter, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord. When you feed my sheep. I'm not holding you, Peter. I'm going to make you a great man. I'm going to bless you. But you're going to have to get on the ball and do what you're supposed to do. So if anybody can be used, we can be. Since we know that it's important to be willing to forgive, may God help us. We don't want to have to be the one always running around asking for it, do we? I don't. I want to do what's right so I can avoid that. I really don't want to have to ask if I don't have to. Right? I mean, how many of us really want to run around and have to ask for it? Will you forgive me? Will you forgive? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You want to do it all day long? Would you want to be the one going 7 times to somebody and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry? I don't think so. So recognize that. If somebody can be used, it can be me. I have to be willing to forgive, but I certainly don't want to be in a place where I'm the one causing the offense. And now listen, if we all do that, then the congregation will run real smooth. It really will. And we won't be trying to step on each other's hats. Take heed to yourselves. If thy brother trespass against thee, rebuke him. And if he repent, what did he say? Forgive him. And if he trespass against thee 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day turn again to thee, saying, I'm sorry, I repent, forgive me, thou shalt forgive him. Didn't say you might, you could. What did he say? Thou shalt. You will forgive him. And the apostle said unto the Lord, increase our faith. Okay, Lord. Brethren, one thing's for sure. If we cannot forgive, as Jesus is saying here, then the result in the end will be our own ruin. Holding grudges and negative attitudes will eventually destroy you. I submit to you that I've seen it happen. I speak the truth, I lie not. If you don't learn to turn loose and let it go, it will eat you like a canker. Just like a cancer, from the inside out. And eventually all you'll be is a hollow shell of what you full of anxiety, full of negativity, full of anger and malice and mistrust. All that will be on the inside. And when you start that stuff boiling, I'm telling you that pretty soon it has a life of its own. And it will start taking on new dimensions and broader and wider. And it will take on its own characteristics. Pretty soon, one day, you'll find yourself out there criticizing and saying things you got no business and doing stuff you got no business. All because you're all pent up on the inside. So he thought we'd leave you with these few words. of admonition and advice. Take them for what they're worth. We trust they're worth a little something. Use them when you need them. May not be anybody bothering you now. In fact, you may be getting along with everybody just peachy keen. Your life may be all sunshine and no rain. You might be on top, on the dime, as they say, rolling on, moving strong, climbing up the mountain, all that. But I'm telling you that one day you're going to need this. One day you will. So file it away in your memory bank if you don't need it now. Save it up, because when that day comes, it's going to be the most important thing you've got before you. When they offend you or do you wrong, say something about you or negative and all that kind of stuff, and the hurt comes, and the hurt is deep, and they come back and say, I'm sorry. You want to say, all right, I forgive you. You know, that did hurt. And we shouldn't do things like that to each other. But by the grace of the living God, it's done with, brother. Let's go out. Let's go down to Dairy Queen and get a chili dog. I'll buy. And forget this as we stand.
Humility, love, mercy. All right. The Lord tells us forgive and not to hold it, because He knows we can't handle it. He knows that it's going to corrode us if we try to hold it. Holding attitudes, you know, the enemy's waiting for us to hold it long enough that he can get something to go with it and build it up to make it worse. No, the Lord just said forgive it. He could just said forgive it. He wouldn't have to tell you how many times. Just forgive it. Sum total. He said if you under the penalty of you not forgiving, then you won't be forgiven. And how many times we were out before God, Lord have mercy, I didn't mean to do that, and really didn't. But God say, well, you're holding Brother Ned, well then you held too. I can't let you go, because with what judgment you meet shall be meted unto you again, and that's the principle of the Scriptures, and that's the way it is. If you don't forgive, then why should you be forgiven? And I'm not willing to be lost, so forgive. The Lord already get forgiven 19 times. There's not too many people who will turn to you again and say, forgive me. You know, some people have just as much trouble asking forgiveness as you do giving it. So that'll limit some of this stuff. Would you forgive me? Well, to ask to forgive you to forgive me is to admit that I'm wrong. And not many people are willing to do that. So what if they do? He said, just in case they do. What are you going to do about it? Well, I hate that guy. I mean, no difference. You got to forgive him and stop hating him. All right. We can't get along on our jobs quite often because there's somebody there that has an irritating personality dealing with you. They're always in the way, always telling the boss on you. Whenever you try to talk in a meeting, they come up and oppose you. Forgive them. Forgive them. Be big-hearted. That's right. We don't want no mean-spirited people around that can't forgive. All right. So how's your spirit now? We just learned tonight, if we didn't know it, that we don't have a right to hold people. Well, I have a right. If you know what he did, every time I turn around, thus and so, Lord said forgive him. Why will hinder you, slow you up in your Christian walk. Amen. Just forgive it. All right. And we can stay in love and stay unified. Right? Overlook it. overlook things. Bothersome sometimes, worrisome to our human nature, and God knows that. But he said, vengeance is mine. You drop it, and I'll pick it up. See? That don't mean the thing is not going to be healed at all, just because you forgive it 70 times. It means God take it out. He knows what the offenses are, but don't be cheering him on to knock somebody off, to block off. Calling down lightning and thunder on folks because they can't agree with them. No, he said, you rejoice when your enemy falleth, the Lord will not take notice. Don't rejoice over that. Pray for them. Those that despitefully use you. All right, that's the word. If you can't forgive them, then how do you expect to be forgiven? That's why I can't keep no victory. Holy folks. Why we can't get deep in God. Refuse to forgive. Well, the way he treated me. Oh, the way he treated me. Eat nothing and forgive. And go on about your business and enjoy the salvation if you have it. Those times coming when all things, the restitution of all things the Lord speak of, the wrong is going to be made right. You trust they'll get saved before that Lord has to take vengeance. All right. We want to keep our eye on the Lord, tear them apart. We want to keep our eye on, we forgave them. Whatever the Lord does, that's his business. All right. Well, thank God. 70 times in a day. Don't ever get your heart cankered, is really what he could say. Don't ever get bigger than God, because he forgave us our greatest sins. And we won't get bigger than him. He forgave us, then surely we should be in a position to do it. All right. Here's the number. Page 275, and while we're singing it, let's see if we're there. Let's see if we're there. On high, in my soul, lest I should be, let us stand on all to be, I commit, dear Lord, to Thee. Oh, preserve me in Thy love, till I reach Thy courts above. Can you love the enemies? Can you pray for those that despitefully use you? Bitterness a part of your experience? Till I may see His face, I am home. Getting even part of your program? Doing them before they do me? Oh, preserve me in Thy love, till I reach Thy home above me. Give me that, oh man, oh baby, and oh let not where ever in my heart abide, all I am nor hope. I commit, dear Lord, to Thee. Oh, preserve me in my love, till I reach Thy home above. Keep me no word. Watch them words. Watch those words. That the wound of tender heart, cause of tears of grace to start, all I am home to be. I commend the Lord to Thee. Oh, preserve me in Thy love, till I reach Thy home above. We don't miss heaven holding other folks out. holding other folks down and miss out ourselves. Criticizing others and find ourselves in the fault. Forgive and help and strengthen. And build up the kingdom. Building up the kingdom. I am my own to me. I commend dear Lord to thee. Oh, preserve me in thy love, till I reach thy course of God. We won't go above. We don't want to go there carrying any junk, envy, and strife, and disagreements and fusses. No, sir. Go to heaven, want to go travel light. Drop all that stuff. Amen. Like vengeance. All right. Well, thank God for the word tonight. Just say thank God for the word tonight. Just a reminder of how we're supposed to be living before the throne of God. Just a reminder. Because He's going to require of us. Because it's in His word. All right. Well, thank God. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's his problem. Keep it cool. Yeah. The way they said it, huh? Yeah. Who you mad at? Who you want to get even with? Who's been stepping on your feet? Don't go to heaven? Get some steel-toed shoes. I heard him walk all the way. Praise the Lord. Need some immunity here. Praise the Lord. All right. Is there anything else we want before we go? Sister Debbie. All right. Brother Richard? Evidently he's better. They said he was here Friday, but never nobody here. But he come over. He drove over. So he gathered some strength to come down. But we would have thought his children would have let him know that we weren't here. But evidently he's doing some good. We know he still needs prayer. He's not getting any younger, you know. So let's continue to pray for Brother Ted. Thank God he was able to get up and drive around. All right. Is there anything else? Tonight? Yeah, certain folks are fixing this up. Some folks just they're going to turn it around. All right, get back to the old way. All right, just Kevin. Next Sunday. So, she'd like to have something there to eat. All right. We don't have a lot of people here tonight, but so Wednesday? Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else need to be taken care of before we go? All right. Well then. We'll be dismissed. Sister Betty, dismiss us, please. Lord God. Lord, strength. Thank you, Lord.